All right, so in hot and cold, our first hot and cold topic is going to be UFC on ESPN+1. All right. So that one is kind of a really weird title. I really never know what they're doing with these titles because some places call it UFC Fight Night 143 because this is the 143rd Fight Night event. Some are saying it's ESPN Plus, so it's the first event on ESPN Plus. So they're calling it UFC on ESPN+1. So I really don't know. But the card itself, I'm a little cold on this on this card. I'm looking at it and I understand the novelty of Greg Hardy in the co-main event on the card, but him as a co-main event, like he's 3-0.
Hmm.
Like and he's fighting Alan Crowder, who's 9-3. Like, so what is there are so many other fights on this card that could have been that to me are better suited for the co-main event spot. And I think that's pretty weird. The main event is a good fight, obviously Henry
Yeah,
Cejudo against TJ Dillashaw, but I think that's really weird. Also, keep an eye on Gregor Gillespie. Gregor Gillespie and Alexander Volkanovski are my two uh I don't want to call them prospects because they're both young. They're both like 30. But in terms of up and coming guys who have not had their title shot yet, and Volkanovski's title shot might be his next fight against Max Holloway. But of guys in this weight range, in that featherweight to lightweight range, these two guys are absolute animals. Gregor Gillespie's wrestling is crazy. He's going to maul Yancy Medeiros in this fight, and it's going to really be a showcase for him. So, but overall, I am kind of cold on this card. What about you?
I would say I'm warmer than cold, but not hot for the reasons that you alluded to. Even though there are some good fighters on there, I don't know if these fights are necessarily, uh, from a head-to-head standpoint. Like I think a lot of these fights are what they will mean going forward. So Greg Hardy still has to establish himself. Like you said, when you're 3-0, we don't really know. So this is still more information on him. Now with the Gregor Gillespie thing, what I think is interesting about that is with John Jones active and having been tested clean
Hmm.
of his last fight, I think he's supposed to do 3 fights a year.
What he said he wants to fight 3 times in 2019.
Right. So if he's going to fight 3 times in 2019, this means that the light heavyweight division is going to be more active. So, so Carl Robertson, I don't know how great of a fighter he is, but anything that adds to the light heavyweight conversation, I think means more when your champion is going to be active and needs fights.
Hmm.
So that's what I mean by like, it's not so much about this card, but can this card going forward have been a card that we look back and say, we're glad we saw stuff about those fighters individually? Possibly. I think for that reason, it's like warm because it's like it could mean more going forward.
Yeah, Carl Robertson's actually a late replacement for Ian Cutelaba. Cutelaba had to be pulled from the card because he got injured. That would have been a more wow type of a fight. But Carl Robertson's a pretty good fighter. He came from Dana White's Tuesday Night Contender Series. He lost his debut, got choked out by Cesar Ferreira, but then he came back and won his second fight. So he's stepping up on short notice to take this fight. He does have some talent, but he's by the time he gets anywhere close to John Jones will either be a heavyweight or doing something else with his life.
Yeah.
So the guy in the heavyweight division, light heavyweight division that you want to look at if you're talking about like a guy who's like a fight or two away and he is really, really talented is a kid named Dominic Reyes. He has a fight coming up. He is a monster. So he's really the one in that particular weight class. But yeah, so we'll see what happens. A lot of times the cards that look like this on paper wind up being the best ones in terms of the
Mhm.
actual in octagon action. So all right, let's
And,
move
and
on.
to, real quick, to be clear, I don't mean for opponents for John, but I mean with John being more active,
Hmm.
this makes everything all the way down.
Down more interesting. Yeah.
That's my point.
it brings in more interest to the overall division.
Yeah.
Pocket, I'll be weak. I'm rather unique.